right, a daily briefing there of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Let's continue with the news. Governor Samuel Ortom has announced a third confirmed case of COVID-19 in Benue State. He announced this during the expanded meeting of the State COVID-19 Action Committee in Makurdi. Charles Abba reports.
Who lamented failure of strict enforcement and compliance with directives at the interstate borders and challenges being posed by community transmission of the virus, announced that the source of the third case has not been ascertained.
So please let the people know if in the last few days you made contact with her, please make yourself available for testing.
He, however, re-emphasized tightening the border lines and measures to close opportunities of community transmission of the pandemic. In Makurdi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
We now join our correspondent, Mitari Ikband, live to give us an update on what just played out at the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Mitari.
Okay, thank you very much. The President's Task Force on COVID-19 said that the first phase of 2 weeks of easing the lockdown in the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos and Ogun states, has witnessed increased number of coronavirus cases. It says it is reviewing the situation and that in a matter of days, it's going to come up with measures which will be used to contain the spread of the pandemic. And also, the PTF confirmed the shortage of bed spaces in isolation centers in some of the high-burden states. And it says it calls on state governments to begin to identify more public spaces that can be used for isolation centers as well as bed spaces. It particularly says that state governments should take advantage of the donation from the Catholic Church and meet the Catholic leadership in their respective states to take advantage of the Catholic Church's donation of 425 hospitals and clinics across the nation to the Presidential Task Force. And again, the chairman of the task force, Mr. Boss Mustafa, says Nigeria is expecting some samples of the herbal remedy of Madagascar. Nigeria is expecting some of these samples of the Madagascar herbal remedy from Guinea-Bissau, but with strict instructions from Mr. President that these samples must be subjected to Nigeria's own validation processes before they are either approved or disapproved. Those are the highlights from the PTF briefing here.
All right, thank you, Mitari. Lots of issues arising that can be challenging, but we'll continue to commend the efforts of the PTF. Let's head to Ibadan to join Larry to bring us more reports on Nationwide. Larry?
Thank you very much, Ruth, and welcome to Ibadan. As part of its efforts to cushion the economic effect of the novel coronavirus pandemic on residents of Oyo State, government has commenced the distribution of palliatives to the less privileged in the state. Kayode Oladoshu reports that Governor Seyi Makinde flagged off the program at Igbora in Ibarakwa Central Local Government area of the state.
Governor Makinde stated that the distribution of the palliatives stemmed from the fact that businesses of the people have been affected by the economic ash of coronavirus pandemic, with 10,000 households identified as poorest of the poor to benefit at Ibarakwa zone. The distribution will also go around other 6 geopolitical zones of the state.
The ones that are being distributed right now will be for the poorest of the poor.
We already have the data. We have a separate body that created the data. So the data for each local government is written, all their names, their glasses and photographs are with the people that they are going to see.
Earlier, Governor Makinde visited the primary health care centers in Ideri and Igbora, which have been marked as isolation center. He also checked the activities of students at the Directorate of Vocational Skills and Entrepreneurship Studies at the Ibarakwa Polytechnic, Erua, where bed sheets and face masks are being produced in Ibadan. Kayodola Dushu, NTA News.
Educational institutions and students in Ogun State are adapting to the process of e-learning as challenges of COVID-19 continues to affect the system. Lekon Agbode completes the report.
The coronavirus pandemic has reshaped almost every aspect of human endeavors, including education. Most governments around the world have temporarily closed down educational institutions in an attempt to curtail the spread of COVID-19. For students to stay connected to school by all means, the federal government recommended mixed media learning platforms. While some are using Zoom, some are glued to radio and television for educational programs. In Ogun State, the pupils, students, and parents are excited.
It is really helpful because there are some things they have not taught me in my school because of the pandemic.
All the subjects that the students are taking were well taken care of by the school, making the teachers that were taking them originally in the class to give them the lecture.
Joel Kowo is a final year secondary school student preparing for his external examination.
I don't think I'm missing anything because exactly same thing we do in school, the same thing we're doing online, even better.
It's interesting and it's a good method of learning.
Besides epileptic power supply, internet connectivity is key for students to enjoy seamless participation in online classes. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbode, NTA News.
And that's the size of our contribution from Ibadan. Rest of Nationwide continues with Ruth in Abuja.
Thanks, Larry. To curb community spread of COVID-19, Ekiti State government has tightened security at its boundaries, with other states while making effort to procure testing equipment to enhance the fight against the virus. The State Commissioner for Health and Human Services, Dr. Mojisola Yaya Kolade, gave the indication at the State COVID-19 Task Force press briefing in Ado Ekiti. Let's hear from Ayodeji Ogunshaki.
Among the non-pharmaceutical interventions to curb the community transmission of COVID-19 in the state is the interstate boundary closure. The rate at which some people are still finding their ways to the state, however, become worrisome, which the task force decried with the belief that for the fight against the pandemic to be won, people must adhere strictly to the various measures set by government.
You come into the state, you can either return back at the entry one, or you choose to go into our isolation center.
The Health Commissioner said government is making efforts to procure more testing equipment and explained that those tested positive to the virus in the state are responding to treatment, while efforts are on to prevent further spread. Meanwhile, more people have benefited from the food palliative to cushion the hardship caused by the lockdown in the state. At a palliative presentation by the special advisors to the state governor on federal matters, about 5,000 people benefited from the donation.
Pandemic of the virus that is actually killing people, and it is our responsibility to be able to educate the people on the need to wash their hands, wear face masks, and also observe social distance.
The people were equally sensitized on the need to follow the various precautionary means to fight the virus. From Ado Ekiti, Ayodeji Ogunshaki, NTA News.
The National Youth Service Corps has donated personal protective equipment and other kits to Taraba State government as part of efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19. Joseph Zena Agambu reports that the equipment were presented to the State Governor Darius Ishaku.
This personal protective equipment and other kits presented to Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku are locally produced by the Corps members who gain various skills through the skills acquisition training provided for them on camp. Governor Ishaku expressed satisfaction that the NYSC has risen to the challenge posed by the COVID-19 pandemic by channeling their expertise in the production of preventive equipment to support government in its effort at curbing the spread of the virus.
One of the ways we can curb it or reduce it is if we have testing equipment. For now, we don't have in Jalingo. We understand there is a mobile testing equipment, of which we have indicated that we're interested.
Governor Ishaku, who expressed optimism that the state will soon receive delivery of mobile testing equipment, admonished people of the state to try and minimize the spread of the virus by keeping strictly to all safety guidelines prescribed by authorities. In Jalingo, Joseph Zanagambo, NTA News.
And from Jalingo, we head to Dusai, following the increasing rate of COVID-19 infections in Jigawa, particularly Dusai, the state capital. A series of measures have been taken by the state government to contain community spread and ease hardships of the residents through provision of palliatives. Correspondent Mohammed Musa Askira reports that while the level of compliance is impressive in some areas, in others, particularly Dusai, authorities need to do more on enforcement.
In total, 8 local government areas were locked down since the index case of COVID-19 was recorded in Jigawa State. Of the 8, 2 local governments of Gumel and Kazaure were reopened following the certification of zero coronavirus pandemic case in the areas. The order, however, remained in force in 6 local government areas of Miga, Goram, Taura, Auyo, Bunikudu and Dutse, the state capital, in view of the growing number of new cases of COVID-19. To contain the community spread of the viral infection, government rolled out measures to complement the lockdown, which include ban on the roaming of Almajirai on the streets by making adequate provisions for their feeding at their respective study centers in the affected local government areas.
It has become necessary to enforce stricter measures in the affected areas, particularly in Dutse, that carries almost 60% of all the cases in the state.
Others include mandatory wearing of face masks and use of hand sanitizer by all residents in the affected communities. The state government has continued to distribute food items to the vulnerable group to ease the hardship brought on them by the lockdown order. However, despite these safety and palliative measures put in place, residents still move about with little attention to social distancing, wearing of face masks, use of hand sanitizer, among others, as was advised by the health experts.
This situation, therefore, requires the stakeholders to step up efforts in the area of public sensitization. From Dutse, Mohammed Musa Askira, NTA News.
Let's look at security issues. 17 bandits operating in parts of Kaduna State have been killed in joint clearance involving troops of Operation Thunder Strike and Well Stroke with support from the air component of Operation Gum Aiki. A statement by the Coordinator of Defense Media Operations, Major General John Eneche, indicates that the criminals were eliminated from their hideouts around Mashigi, Galbi and Kabarasha villages in Gwagwada district of Chukun local government area of Kaduna State. Major General Eneche notes that 3 empty houses and a church building at Kabarasha village were particularly damaged during the encounter. The armed forces regrets the unfortunate incident and have set up a panel in liaison with the Kaduna State government to investigate the occurrence with a view to provide compensation. The statement commends the public for their support and enjoined them to regularly provide credible information that will facilitate the operations of the armed forces. And just before we go, let's have a quick check on our weather prospect for Tuesday. Right, we're done with Nationwide, and do enjoy the rest of your evening. But as you go about your daily activities, please remember to always stay safe and stay tuned to NTA for more on COVID-19 updates. I'm Ruth Aguela.